Emmanuel sir, you are live now. Emmanuel sir, you are live now. Kalpana ma'am, you are live now.
Hello, all. This is Dr. Emmanuel Daniel from Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science. I bring greetings to you from the Department of Social Work, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, Coimbatore. So it's been a great pleasure in organizing this webinar on qualitative research. So the resource person is Dr. Norby Paul. So we'll also be giving an introduction about the resource person. So here I would like to invite Dr. Kalpana Prakash, the head of the Department of Social Work, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, to give a small introduction about our institution, our department, and welcome the gathering.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. So, a warm good afternoon to each one of you present here. I'm very glad and happy that today the Department of Social Work is organizing a webinar on qualitative research. Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science has a holistic vision of becoming a progressive, research-focused institution and to mold the young minds constantly. And I hope this webinar will ensure that once again we are into that process continuously. And we would like to invite Dr. Norby Paul, and he's the guest for today's session. And he's the senior lecturer from the of social work from the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for being today in this session, and we look forward to have a wonderful session with you. Thank you. So over to you, Dr. Emmanuel.
Good afternoon. Hope all of you are keeping well. I think we have been brought together because of the COVID-19 we are facing. I do acknowledge, and I'm happy to be part of this. I'm really humbled to be a resource person for such kind of webinar. Hopefully, I will try to do justice to the topic, but at the same time, if there is any queries or anything, you can come back to me, or you can or you can respond to me. That's what I would like to have it. Emmanuel, being one of my friend, he has asked me to do this. Therefore, I'm happy to do this webinar for you. That's what right now. Hopefully, Dr. Emmanuel, can we start? Hopefully, Dr. Emmanuel, can we start? Hello. Am I audible?
Sir, before that, I will introduce you to the participants. Just give me a
fine. Okay, fine, fine.
Okay, so Dr. Norby Paul has completed his master's from the University of Pune, and then he joined as an academician since 2004. So he has worked in various colleges. He has also worked in various organizations in the capacity of director. So his research interest is particularly in the field of social and cultural capital, marginalization, human rights, and community development. So far, he has edited and authored 4 books on development, included displacement, published by several articles in various national and international journals. So Dr. Paul has completed his postdoctoral studies in Christ University, Bangalore, conducting research on development-induced displacement and marginalization in Kerala. Currently, he works as a senior lecturer in social work in the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, Nairobi. So my relationship with Father Norby is from 2016. So I met him in a conference where we worked together on a research. So he has always been a great support for me in my research and a mentor for me. So I would like to congratulate all the participants for taking active participation and for enrolling here for this webinar. So I'm sure that this webinar is going to be a meaningful webinar in your research focused profession. So over to Father Norby.
Um, thank you, Emmanuel. I'm happy to be part of it, and I am happy to be associated with you. Thank you for the kind words. I think all the participants will be eager to know what exactly I would like to talk, but at the same time, pardon me if I am somewhere is not right from your perspective or right for your if you have a differences. But I am glad to accept that, and that's what I would like to say to you. Uh, before I think we will start directly. That's what I would like to say right now. I can go live, Father Emmanuel. Can I go live?
Yes, please.
Okay. See, this is what I would like to have for this session. Maybe a case study method in qualitative research. My focus will be like this. No, what we will discuss will be like this. We will be discussing about the qualitative, what is qualitative research and general structure of the qualitative proposals and types of qualitative research and types of sorry, there is a typing error. Sampling, sampling in qualitative research case study. Then we will focus on case study, and from there we will look into the types of case study, what are the steps we have to do it, and how we can go ahead with the data analysis. This is what I'm thinking of. No, if anybody has got any kind of concerns to be discussed in this special session, you can message in the chat box or in private chat. That will be noted by Dr. Emmanuel, I think. Isn't it, Dr. Emmanuel? Dr. Emmanuel will note it and get back to me if is possible.
Yes, sir.
Right now, what we are planning, we will go for a test touch session, and then we will go for if there is any queries to be clarified, and that clarification within my limit, and not no, I cannot say everything. I can clarify everything, but at the same time, if it is possible and within my limit, I will do that. Now, shall we enter the session? Yeah, we are going to enter the session. Dr. Emmanuel, if you have anything is not clear from my part, or any kind of dysfunction from the technical thing, please inform me.
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Okay. No. So far it's okay. So far it's okay. Is it clear, Dr. Emmanuel? And I think why I am testing with Dr. Emmanuel, because hopefully everybody will have same kind of feeling. That's why I'm testing with checking with Dr. Emmanuel.
Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir. Yes.
Okay. See, when we are thinking about research, all of us think about I need to do something on the research, and research means something. Some people say it's very difficult thing. Some people say, oh, so it's very easy. How we will understand that whether it is easy or whether it is difficult? It all depends upon our perspective. At the same time, basically what we want to do in the research, that matters a lot. That's what basically when we look into research, there are two dimensions we have to look into it. How you first and foremost, how you approach a research problem, that is the first thing. At the same time, and based on that, we have quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative, you know what exactly quantitative is, speaking about the numerics more on and the measuring and other things. Now qualitative is speaking about what exactly the living situation of the people. And now, as I said, research always depends upon your research question. What is research question? The problem that you need to address, the problem you need to identify, and the problem you identified and are trying to answer. This is what you have to look at. This is what research question. And every research question, when we look in it, it always depends upon our own preferences and skills. What skill I have for me? Am I equipped with certain skills for the research? What is my priority area? What are the things I am looking for? And that always will be guided by the philosophy I am looking for. That philosophical outlook that I have towards a subject. That matters a lot. And when we are looking at the philosophical outlook, that we have to look into certain principles that always guides research designs. You know what is research design? It's a blueprint or it's a skeleton that brings in what you are going to do. And basically, we have to look for four principles. One principle is ontology, or you can say the philosophical outlook. Ontological perspective, ontological perspective, and epistemological perspective, a methodological perspective, and methods and techniques. What is ontology? What is ontological perspective you are looking at? It is how the researcher is looking at the world as his own assumptions. What that nature looks like for him. What kind of nature you want to have in the reality, in your works, in your living situations. From that perspective, you look into epistemology. Epistemology is speaking about the knowledge creation. Is speaking about the best way you investigate into the nature or to a reality and finding out or bringing out some kind of knowledge into our life. And if that is the case, then we have to look into a certain methodology. Methodology is almost like the process, the systems that you have to look into it. It's a coherent picture that we would like to have it. And at the same time, research techniques that we are incorporated, research, the mode that we have looked into it. And at the same time, methods. The fourth principle that we have today, methods and techniques. What we all are doing in the field, what we would like, how we will be able to collect the data. How data means, information that we would like to have it from the field. How we will carry out the investigation. So it depends upon how we choose. Basically, whatever the way we are looking at it, all the research is trying to bring a picture to the world how this problem is looking like and how you have looked into it, and at the same time trying to get a coherent and effective answer to a problem or a solution to the problem. Every research should focus on solution. So ontological, epistemological, methodological, and methods that we have to very much be aware how we are looking into it. So this perspective, when we are putting this perspective, based on this perspective, general perspective of research, we are moving into qualitative research. Qualitative research, as we know, it speaks about the quality. That means we are speaking about the focusing on the experience of the people. We are speaking about the subjective dimensions of the people. What we are focusing on the uniqueness of individuals, how we will be able to collect the data from their quality of life, especially from the cultural, social factors that influence experiences and behaviors. And qualitative research basically also, we are also, if you are focusing on individual, it will be focusing on the individual's experience or of institutions or events. So speaking about qualitative research, always look from the cultural, social, other factors that influence the living. That is why basically then you can say that qualitative research try to ascertain people's feelings, opinions, behavior, or reasons for their attitude, their belief, what kind of the reasons towards the problem they face, and that what kind of services gap they experience. So from this, as I said, qualitative research is focusing upon the individual's social, cultural background. If that's the case, we would also like to know, I think I would like to explain to you what the qualitative research make as its features. First one, we have to look at it's conducted is from the field or real life settings of the individual, as I have explained it. And field of the study is focused on the natural setting, source of data that we collect from the close interaction with the participants or the people who are who are in touch with whom we are approaching for the collecting the data or having to let them share their experience. And the researcher's role is to gain a holistic or integrated view of the study. But at the same time, remember, when we are looking into the holistic view, we also look for perceptions of the participants. This is what more important. Perceptions of the participants are integrated, but at the same time, we are also looking to trying to bring out a holistic view. And also, we will like to the next characteristic is that if there is a character, the perspective of the individuals are being brought down, then we will be able to bring some kind of themes emerges from the data that we have collected, which is verified later by through the verification from the informants or from the participants. The next characteristic is that the main focus of the research is to understand the ways people act and account for their actions. That means we are looking to the people, we are every qualitative research will look for the ways people act. We are not trying to interpret it, but rather we are trying to find out the meaning of it and how the people are looking into this. That is why the next characteristic comes in. What is it? The characteristic, like no, it goes with perspectives of post-positivism, critical theories, postmodernism. It is not only you have to be critical, but at the same time you need to have something experience beyond of being seen and experimented. There is something more that you can have it. The feelings, the emotions of the people have to be looked into it. Dr. Emmanuel, am I clear with it? There is any problem that can I go ahead with it?
Yes, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay, fine. Then, along with it, see, here the role of the researcher, we are continuing, okay? The role of the researcher is much more important here. Role of the researcher, because the researcher is the one who is collecting the data and at the same time trying to get multiple sources, not only one source that we are looking for. We should look for, that is what I said, we have to bring out a holistic view. To have the holistic view, we should have multiple sources of information. And therefore, when we go for the analysis of data, we try to we will follow the process of inductively look into it from individuals that are being inducted. We are trying to recursively look into it. That means we are trying to relate with it. We are trying to interact with it. Induction and the relations and the interactions makes a lot of bringing of merging of data and then bring out something theme. And as I said earlier, the qualitative research is always looking for human behavior belief. And this is what social, political, historical, and maybe you can put for it also cultural lens. How the people are looked into their living situations. Individuals, people living in Amazon will be entirely different from the cultural patterns, the social living, the political situations are entirely different here, and people who are living in Africa and people who are living in India. So we are trying to rather that way, when we are looking for the cultural lens, the people's individuality, uniqueness, when we are looking at their subjective experience, we will also look for something called don't look for prefigured designs, rather let it emerge. That means we try to emerge it, and then fundamentally we are trying to interpretative inquiry. Researcher reflects on his role and the role of the reader and role of the participants in shaping the study. This is what we have to do. The researcher is looking from his perspective, but at the same time trying to understand the people whom we are the participants they are studying. At the same time, when he or she, the researcher, communicates, also ask the readers to look into how the people are living, what the kind of perspective they have, the people. That's what these are the cultural things that these are the things that we have to look into for in the qualitative research. Qualitative research always look for this kind of characteristics, and therefore we prefer to have the qualitative research. And quantitative research, it doesn't speak about the social political background that you can. It's very difficult to put into the subjective feelings and emotions. That's what you have to look at it. Now, from here characteristics, we have to look at it. What kind of general structure we can have it for a qualitative proposal? Of course, we said there is a characteristic, there is a meaning. At the same time, each when we are looking for structure, how can we go ahead with it? If I want to study a character individual, or if I want to study a problem in a qualitative manner, how can I go ahead with it? There are three ways that we can look at it. This is what Creswell says. First one is constructionist interpretive form. This is just a traditional approach of planning the qualitative research, and it includes standard of introduction. You should have how you have proceeded with your research. That is how you have looked into the procedures about the role of how the researcher have been looked into it, and at the same time what we try to also look into what are the ethical issues that you have found it, what are the pilot, what are your findings, what are your expected outcomes. That's what a basic, that is what traditional way of looking at it. The next way people look for qualitative research for the advocacy perspective. Advocacy perspective is explicit, as the word says, that it's very clear. People are doing research for advocacy, to have a transformative approach to qualitative research by stating advocacy issue at the beginning, emphasizing collaboration during the data collection. That means their perspective is to say, for example, you have a group of people suffering from certain things. Some people are marginalized. You study them, you try to bring it why they are marginalized, you try to bring out it, and this data will be used for advocacy. So advocacy approach, people use it. And next one is theoretical format, advanced theoretical format. sorry, this is theoretical lens. That's what it has to be. That is a spelling mistake. Theoretical. Here, the format, we move more from just from advocacy, rather we look for something extra. We have a theoretical lens. We look certain studies, qualitative research from a theoretical perspective, like maybe an ethical perspective, ethnicity, that will be a concern, or a racial concern, or feminist concern. Here the word uses here, instead of validation, they don't want to have validation, rather they are look for trustworthiness. That's what you have to look into it. Trustworthiness of the people. So trustworthiness, how we will look into it? See, people trustworthiness, this people say that the people who are experiencing is much more trustworthy than getting the validation of others. That's what they have to look into it. Okay, from there we will move to the types of qualitative research. Qualitative research, qualitative research. Basically, I would like to explain a bit on the based on the Creswell's books, at the same time Jung's book also. The qualitative research, there are five. Creswell has suggested 5 qualitative research studies. First one is narrative. Narrative is rooted in different social and humanities disciplines. It can be both a method and a phenomenon of study. Here, the question comes, as the word says narrative, you narrate it. But the question comes in, are you analysis? Is it analysis of narratives or narrative analysis? So the approach is to emphasize on variety of forms found in the narrative research policies or the practices. For example, the first one in the narrative approach types, you'll find that people look for just a biographical study as a narrative study, in which researcher writes and records experience of another person's life. Biography. That is what a narrative perspective. But at the same time, a researcher will also look into from others' experience, but at the same time, bringing some kind of objectivity to that also. Then, next one is narrative studies may have also specific contextual focus. That means, for example, you can look into how teacher now how people like us, the teachers are responding during in a particular session during the COVID-19. Children who are interacting, who are dealing with in a classroom. Or here, what the stories of the organizations that are working during COVID-19, you can look into it. Then the next one is also, you can have narrative may be also guided by theoretical lenses or perspective. Here, the lens may be used to advocate, or maybe a feminist lens used to report the stories of the woman, or lens that shows the women's voices, muted people, or contradictory. That here means there are the other perspective, that I look into somebody's life from a perspective and narrate the life of the people from perspective of feminism or some kind of race experiences. So narration is just narrating it, but at the same time looking into the research perspective. That's what people do. And now phenomenological. Next one is phenomenological. Phenomenological, you mean is speaking about, meaning several individuals lived their experiences, a concept or a phenomenon. Here, phenomenological research consists of what the people experienced, how they experienced it. This is what phenomenology. A phenomenon is studied. A phenomenon is how the people are experiencing it and how they experienced it. We are trying to bring in a phenomenon. And then there are 4 times you can, 4 variety way of looking at it. For types, you can look into it. One is hermeneutical phenomenology. Here, the researcher describes as oriented towards lived experiences and interpreting the text of life. Here, as the hermeneutic speaks about it, a phenomenon lived by the people but interpreted. That's what is done in the hermeneutical phenomenology. Phenomenology is not only for the description but also seen as an interpretive process. This word is more important. You try to interpret it. And next one is Hazard's concept of epoch. That means you bracket it. That means we as researcher set aside all their personal experiences, transcending the experiences and trying to see as if you have seen it for the first time. That means you are seeing something for the first time, therefore you read it. Though you must have seen it before, but at the same time you don't want to have your experience, your feelings, your emotions to get into it, and thereby write it, tabula rasa, as if you have seen for the first time. And next one is phenomenological psychology. Phenomenological psychology is speaking about consisting of identifying a phenomenon to study, bracketing out one's experiences, and collecting data from several persons who have experienced this phenomena. The researcher then analyzes the data by reducing the information to significant statements or codes and combines the statements into theme. Here, you have the different one phenomena experienced by the people, and you try to bring in these experiences separating from them and trying to bring out the gist or the themes from this researcher, and then bring out a theme for your research, out of your research. Then description of experience of the person. Here this type, you try to bring out what the participants are experienced. We try to bring out a structural description of experiences, how they experience in terms of condition, situations, and context. Three things are important over here. What is the condition? What was the condition? What the present situation, or what was the context they have, or the context they have looked into it. Now, the third one is a bit difficult part, by a difficult approach, but at the same time, many of the researchers are doing it. Grounded theory research. Grounder here means you generate out of data. That's what generated or grounded. In this approach, we have two types. One is systematic procedure. Second one is constructivist grounded theory. So systematic one, when we are looking into it, when we are looking into constructivity, systematic, the investigator seeks to systematically develop a theory that explains process, action, and interaction on a topic. That means trying to bring out a categorization. And here the researcher also looks into collecting the data and analyze it, observe it from the observations, analysis, and document study and other things. What the researcher, when we collect the data, here the one thing I forgot to say, that here grounded theory is practiced by the researcher when the researcher studies a topic, found out that he or she is not able to explain a certain phenomena theoretically, therefore trying to explore or try to devise or try to design his own or her own theory onto that. And now when we go for it, we go in the systematic procedure, we try to have a zigzag process. Out of the field, we collect the information, and we try to we go to the office and analyze it, and going back to the field and get more information, and to the office. That goes on, so that you have a theorize, you will be able to theorize it. And here the thing is that when we look for data collection, the participants are interviewed, theoretically chosen. That means we have a particular reason to do it. We are theoretically looking into it. We want to have certain perspective. Our perspective are looked into it. Then only we select the participants, whether this participant can provide us enough data. That is theory developed out of the concepts that we have developed. Then this process of taking information from the data collection and comparing it and emerging categories is called a constant comparative method of data analysis. That's what I said earlier, 6-act method process. So here the researcher uses comparative, constant, going back, collect the data, analyze it, going back, and come back again, verified. Then it try to bring out certain concepts, constructs, and then trying to develop it, try to theorize it. Then we have a paradigm, axial coding paradigm. This is what most important in the here. Axial coding, axial coding is something that you try to create a center core phenomenon of it, and from this core phenomena we try to bring out certain factors around it, certain causal factors that cause this core phenomena. We try to bring a core phenomena, from then other roots, other causes that comes support this. And there we have to look into certain causal factors. When we are looking into it, we are also looking into it strategies, actions that taken in response to the core phenomena. We have to also look into contextual and intervening conditions, and what are consequences. So causal axiom paradigm, we have to look into axiom coding, one cause, then around of it, and then what are the things that have been used to address this problem. This is what we are trying to do it. Then we out of the final step is to select coding, in which researcher takes a model and develop propositions. This is what the final theorizing. Mostly this theorize happens based on the axiom paradigms that we bring in. Then second one is constructivities, lies on squarely within the interpretive approach to qualitative research with the flexible guidelines, a focus on theory development that depends on researcher's view. Here the researcher's view is more important. His learnings, his experience about the field and his previous experiences, and then trying to look into what are the factors that are embedded, what are the factors hidden in this, what are the network comes in, what are the situations, what the relationship, what kind of invisible and visible hierarchies of power, what kind of communications, what are the opportunities are coming over there, is the people are looked into it. And then the researcher has to put his brain and look into it, and his perspective brought into the problem out of his experience, out of his observations, then trying to bring out a theory. Here, social constructive perspective that concludes emphasizing diverse local world, multiple realities and complexities of particular world views and action. But at the same time, when the researcher looks into it, his own experience, his own perspective, he also looks into it, the world's perspective, the views, actions. And there, here also looks into the values, beliefs, and feelings, assumptions, and ideologies of individuals than the method of the research. Here, the method is okay that to follow, but at the same time, methods are not that significant as we are looking into the values. So here advocates using active code such as gerund based phrases. Gerund based phrases here means recasting life. Always gerund will be used. That means grounded theory is suggesting, therefore it is suggestive, incomplete, and inconclusive. Remember, gerunded theory that can be generalized greater in a greater perspective, that has to be done later. But at the same time, constructive view is that the researcher develop his own perspective and trying to bring it out of his learning experience, looking into the living experience of the people and other value systems. Here, developing a theory is more important than the method that follows. So, for which he looks in, but at the same does not negate that the method has to be deleted or should not be followed. There should be a process of looking at it. That's why we have to look in. That's what I said. Perspectives are important, but people's perspective also important. Dr. Emmanuel, can I go ahead with it?
Sir, you can
Hello?
go ahead. Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible, sir. You can go ahead with it.
Okay. Then, next one is ethnographic. Ethnographic is that you study a cultural group or culture or life of the people, how people are sharing their culture, their language, their behavior, their belief systems through observation or study. There are two ways you look into it: realistic ethnography and the critical ethnography. Realistic, that you try to look into the live traditional approach that you used by the cultural anthropologist. You try to bring out objective account of the situations typically written in the third person's point of view. Third person's point of view is more important. Here, I am not looking into my own if I am studied by somebody else, he will be looking into his perspective into my life, and he will describe. Not my words will be not my words are repeated, but rather his perspective. Objectivity is trying to bring in his perspective are brought into it. And critical ethnography speaks about emancipation of the group. How, as I said earlier, that we have this is for how value laden orientation empowering the people is more important for them. There, when the people, for example, if you want to study those displaced people, or if you want to study the particular tribal culture of India, or tribal how the African people are being exploited, a particular community's experience, and you put it, you try to describe their culture, living situations, and other things for a better advocacy, and then you try to bring them into mainstream. Our intention in the critical ethnography is to bring some kind of empowerment, or to open up the inequality, iniquity, dominance, repression, hegemony, or victimization that is happened for a community. So there is a purpose for that. So this is what exactly, and at the same time, we will. Then we have next one is case study. Case study. That's what our focus is. Case study. Really, we are looking into it in a perspective within individual's experience, or within a context a person is lived. Here in the case study, the researcher explores a bounded system or a multiple bounded system or cases over the time. We have mode of data collection, like in-depth interview, or through observations, or audiovisual material, cross verifications and documents, and studying the documents and reports and other things. And reports of case study description is case-based theme. And then multi-site study we are looking into it. Then we look into it. Well, I'm not explaining too much because we have to explain it in future. That is our another section looking for. Now, some others also say that qualitative also you can look for participatory action research, narrative analysis, cultural studies or gender studies also look into it in the qualitative perspective also. When we look for qualitative research, this is what perspective. As we see the slides over there, from down you go top. We have to determine the focus of inquiry. Then you have to go for what is your research question, and then determine how we are the unit of analysis, how we are going to analyze it, how the people you are going to study, and then determine the type of data that you have collected, interviews or diaries or other photos, and then you try to decide on sampling, how you will go for the sampling, and then how you will go for analysis process. This approach to qualitative inquiry that we have to look into it. That is why we have coming to the strategies in the qualitative sampling. There are strategy, sampling strategy, and how it goes on. There are intensity of sampling. When you want to have rich data, you have to go intensively into your sample. Then sometimes you just want to finish up, you have to have it normal study. Then you go for typical case sampling that focus on what is normal or average, highlight the whole population. And next one is snowball sampling. There you go for the approach the first person, and then nominated by other person you go for it. It's like rolling. And theory based sampling, here you look for sample or cases, you want the persons, the participants that represent who can contribute your theoretical construct. So here this is how you should select. You have to select. If you want to study a mental health trust, okay, fine, that will be your target population. Then you have to use your inclusion exclusion criteria over there. There the sample population comes in. Then you have to select. Here in qualitative research, mostly we try to do is a purposeful sampling, because we don't go for much participants for the study. Therefore, we look for those who can fulfill the criteria and who can provide rich data. Size and specific of cases depends upon the study purposes. And then theoretical sampling, as I said, it will be guided by emerging theories that if you want to prove some theories, or you want to defend, or you want to disprove that theory, you select samples. Then you have to go for convenient sample. Sometimes people go for that who is available near hand or available. Then, as I said, snowball sampling. And then there are some people who come for voluntarily, who wants to know, who are eager for the to be sampled and then get more research on that. Now, this is what another dimension we have to look for qualitative research. We collect the data, we research it, but at the same time, every data that we collect should have some kind of triangulation has to happen. It has to be undergo certain kind of reliability test, not as a statistical test, but rather as a test done by the researcher through triangulations. First one is data triangulation. You try to triangulate what is what the data that you have collected, whether it is fulfilling the criteria or things, you have to look at it. Then you have to also investigate the triangulation. That means if you are studying, there are more than one, you are also a researcher, other person also a researcher having the same study, then you have to triangulate between both of you. And multiple triangulation also is there. You try to combine the multiple methods of data that you have collected and theories that is combined. You try to multiple ways that comes in, then you try to triangulate it. And then it's the next one is also part of multiple triangulation, but this is a little bit different. But you have to look in a methodology. We are trying to triangulate, that of which there are two kinds within method that we have. First one is within method. Within method, where the researcher employs variety of data gathering techniques within the same method. That means I try to use interview for the data collection. I try to use it in-depth interview. At the same time, I can use the structured interview where I try to triangulate it. At the same time, there is another way of looking at it is Then when we are using different methods, I use the observation, I use the interview. So this method, the data that is collected by both methods, I try to verify between both methods whether the data that I have collected are matching or not. So for this are about the qualitative research as an introduction that I would like to have it for you. And now uh, can I go ahead with Dr. Emmanuel, or anybody can say that? Can I go ahead with it? My case. Go ahead with the case study.
Yes, sir. You can start with the case study.
Is it okay so far? Is it okay that you are audible, and is it the way that I have to go ahead?
Yeah, everything is perfectly all right. Some people have posted the questions that we will answer it at the end of the session.
Okay, you can message. Maybe you can message to me or something if you want to have it. That will be good.
Sure, I will do the read. Thank you.
Okay, is it okay? Okay.
Yes, it is perfectly all right.
Okay, perfectly all right. That's fine. So this is what exactly we will. No, case study. What is case study? What is case study? People all say that what is case study. I think I cannot. You cannot see me. I think. Is it now? Is it okay? The screen is seen, Emmanuel.
The screen is fine, sir.
Okay. Now case study. Case study is an inquiry into a case. If you say, do you have a definition for it? It's a case study is basically is a part of inquiry of the research process that we have seen. Case study is one of the method that is applied here in qualitative research. Now look into it. For example, case study: a student who has trouble in learning to read, agriculture education. What you can do? What about private school practices here these days? What the knowledge curriculum that is developed these days? Or even a research can be looked into the webinar series during the COVID-19. It can that's it, or activity or ongoing process, how it happens, how the students teaching learning process happen. All these things, anything can be looked into as for the case study. So basically, we are trying to any case study or anything, we have to start with a research question. As I said, research question is to have is to trying to address a research problem. The way the question or problem provides a reason for undertaking your inquiry and helps to establish a plan of action, how research is going to be conducted. For example, if we are looking into it, how video games people who are playing of them. So our research question will be: is there is a link between violent video games and youth violence? It can be it's a research question. So case study, in essence, is a central tendency among all types of case study is that it tries to illuminate a decision or a set of decisions, why they were taken, how they were implemented, and with what result it has generated. We are trying to look into it that way. And now, what is the meaning of case study? Case study involves care and complete observation. We are trying to make a complete observation of social unit that a person, a family, an institution, cultural group, or even the entire community. It is a method of study of in-depth rather than breadth. That has to be looked into. It is not, we are not looking to wide perspective, rather we are trying to delve in deep and places more emphasis on the full analysis of a limited number of events or conditions and their interrelations. That means we don't look for much data to be collected from different people. Rather, we are looking into a particular, if it is a one person study, we look into in depth and what is their interrelationship. And we are trying to deal with process that takes place and in the relationship between them, as I have explained. Essentially, it is intensive investigation. That's what you have to look into. Case study is an objective. At the center, remember that is an objective of the objective of the case study is to locate the factors account for the behavior patterns of given unit of an integrated locality. That means we are looking to in its totality a person and its living situations, the local life, the totality of the person, as I said, the socio political, historical, cultural context has to be looked into it. What are the characteristics of the case study? We can take one single social unit or more social units for study purpose, and even take a situation to study same comprehensively. Selected unit is studied intensively, that is, it is studied in minute details, and extends over a long period of time. That means we have to look into it a natural history of the unit to obtain enough information from drawing correct inferences. Made complete study of social unit coverage of all facets. That means characteristic is that you make in-depth analysis, in-depth inquiry into a case or event or a situation. Now, why case study is useful? It provides detailed description. Sometimes it helps you to go for test a theory, or you can generate your own theories. Case study method is amongst the most flexible research design that you have to look into it. And we have to look also, it incorporates a number of data gathering strategies. We can look for document analysis, we can look for surveys, we can look for participants or non-participant observation, we can go for participatory or action research, we can look for it. That means data collection, you can use various methods. Therefore, you get a comprehensive view. Therefore, even if you study a single situation or single case, you can apply different methods for the data collection. So case study research method, why case study method? You have to look into it. As I said, there are ways that you can have it. You can have it. It helps you to function like explore something. It helps you to explore, enabling the researcher to get the feeling for potentially important variable and describe a phenomena in the appropriate contextual setting. That means case study helps you to explore something, or something you can also test the hypothesis or the theories. For example, you can go for cause effect and then quasi experimental fashion that you can look for. Sometimes you can go for policy analysis. This is called teasing out prescription of action. That means you try to bring out something that is not fixing another things. So case study, it helps you to bring out what exactly living situations of the people. You can explore it, you can test the hypothesis, or you can even go for policy analysis. Now we have types of case studies. Case study may be a single, or as I said, it can be a single individuals or several individuals. A case study may be a process. A case study may be selected because it is unusual. We'll discuss it. Then case study locates case or cases within their larger. So there are three types of case studies that basically Creswell is speaking about it. There are intrinsic case study. Intrinsic case study look into the case study or case which is unusual, which is not happening, which is not happen, which is exceptionally exception. That is what researcher is interested to in understanding a specific individual or situation, why it is happened, trying to explore it. At the same time, goal is to understand the case in all from all its part. Here the researcher is trying to explore something. You see, you have a clock over here, but at the same time, when you go for exploring all the different dimensions, all the parts are divided, and then you try to bring out the uniqueness of this situation. Next one is instrumental case studies. Instrumental case study is provides insights as a issue or theme. Researcher is interested in understanding something more than just a particular case. Researcher here in the instrumental case, researcher focus on issue or a concern and then select the one bounded case to illustrate this issue. Here, the researcher looks only one case, but at the same time, researcher is looking for case only, but for a larger goal, trying to bring something beyond of particular case. Draws conclusion that apply beyond a particular case. It is one case, but at the same time, trying to bring some kind of meaning to the larger perspective. Then multiple or collective case study brings in we study different cases and try to bring out what is common into it and then bring out insights into the issue and then we develop a theme. That's what multiple case study speaks about it. And also people say there are most favorable case studies, exceptional case studies, and critical case studies. Illustrate most favorable case study is speaking about illustrate a theory and show it in a positive light. You study certain situation and try to defend the theory. And exceptional case studies speaks about validate or falsify the hypothesis by choosing a least favorable case. If something you want to prove it, somebody has said this is what exactly going to happen, but if you want to prove it, the same situation stated by the other person, you try to select it and then you try to prove the other way. Then critical case study is using a case to show the limitations of previous studies, theories, and other factors that might be operating. That means try to bring some kind of critical perspective to the theories established. Now, generalizing the case studies, is it easy? It's all depending upon the number of cases that is done. And at the same time, how to overcome such limitations is to choose ones that have greatest varieties of characteristics. So generalization in the case, this is one of the criticism that we will see. One of the criticism for the case studies. It is very difficult for generalize the case studies. How it is possible? How to generalize it? Increase the number of case studies. And how and when not only the increase in the number of cases, rather select extreme ones that are greatest variety of cases that encompasses range of extremes. That will give you exact the situation and analysis. This is what I said. Then before we undertake case studies, we should look into certain things, like we should have an overview of our case study, and we should also look for case study questions, trying to certain questions that we have to keep in our mind, like keep how am I keep individually. This helps you to track yourself, distinguish among them levels of questions, what is the pathways or evidence that I have to look in it, whether my guide, interview guide for the case study report, what I am trying to follow it, whether am I access to the sites, or whether I will get assistance, whether the schedule for the data collection, how I have scheduled all these things, you have to look into it. So these are the reminders for a researcher before undertake such case studies. Now we will go for the analysis within the field and across the data. See, as we collect the data, for the research, we should also look for preliminary analysis of that assist the enormous quantities of data. One thing is that data analysis forces researchers to go beyond of initial impressions. You have to go for it. And cross-case data analysis help you to find out within the group similarities and in the group differences. And select next, then when you go for it, go for select pairs of cases and list similarities and differences between each group, or forces a researcher to look into a subtle similarities and differences. See, in most of the cases, as we go in depth, we need to look into, there are differences between and the similarities between different groups, but the researcher has to look for subtle similarities, that's minute similarities. So analysis, when we go for analysis of data and cross data analysis, we have to look for these three things. You have to analyze the cases, and the same you have to go for the cross cases data analysis, and at the same time subtle analysis. When we analyze the data, we have to look, as this is part of the this one, you have to look into, go for what are the patterns that matches. What is pattern matching? A set results is predicted, then compared to actual result. Before I go for research, I expect certain result, and I try to get compare with what exactly this I got it. And explanation building, or a particular explanation, can you bring use of using your data to explain the data? Are we looking for time series analysis, how the trends of an event happens and over a period of time? Is it matching? Is matching with the possible explanation? Try to give an explanation for that. And logic models, next one is you try to bring out a complex chains of events and looks at relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. What are the causes and what are the events, that what are the results happen? So try to bring out the relationship between cause effect relationship. And then we go for the cross case synthesis. Findings are analyzed across the cases and generalization are made, for which when we look for this kind of patterns and explanation and time series, logic models, and case series, we have to look for a certain six kind of analysis is possible. There are six possible way of we can look for. One is content analysis, second is grounded analysis, third one is social network analysis, fourth one is discourse analysis, fifth one is narrative analysis, sixth one is conversion analysis. What is content analysis? Content analysis, we start with certain ideas about the hypothesis or themes that might emerge and look for them in the data that we have collected. You might, for example, here uses a color coding a number of systems to identify text about different themes, grouping together of ideas, gathering evidences about views on each theme. Here, content analysis is bringing about the theme development. You bring out you have to have a coding system. What is coding? You try to bring out, we all try to bring out certain themes, general recurrent words, and then trying to bring out certain out of this certain themes that comes in over there. And from these themes, you try for whether these themes that we have got from our previous studies, previous readings, whether it is happening over here, and then try to bring out. This is what content analysis. And the next one is grounded analysis. Grounded analysis, you bring out is almost like similar to the content analysis, that in that it uses similar techniques of coding. Coding is most important when we go for analysis. However, in the grounded analysis, You do not start from a defined point of view. Instead, you allow the data to speak for itself with the themes emerging from the discussions and conversations. That means in the content analysis, we had a certain knowledge about themes that can develop. That's all we have jot down, and then we have coded and we have looked for it and we got it. And now in the grounded analysis, we don't look for, we go for the coding, but as I said, we don't look for previous decided themes. Rather, let it speak. Let there emerge themes. That's what it speak for itself. The themes, the data will speak for itself. This will help you to bring out certain theories, grounded theories that will help you on that. In practice, this may be much of the very difficult task, but at the same time, we have to concentrate on data. Some people may find this form of analysis much easier sometimes to achieve than as compared to others. Then the next one is social network analysis. This form of analysis examines the links between individuals as a way of understanding what motivates the behavior or what. See, for example, we have the content analysis, we try to develop a theme over there. Out of the themes, we try to bring out some kind of network. We try to draw a relationship between through a diagrammatic way or a visual way or network way. It has been used, for example, as a way of understanding why some people are, for example, this is a word, why some people are more successful at work than others. Why some children are more likely to run away from home. This type of analysis, we try to use a combination of other methods. For example, after some kind of content and grounded analysis, we try, the next things are grounded analysis to identify common themes about relationship. It is often helpful to use visual approach to this kind of analysis to generate a network diagram showing the relationship between members of network. That means each theme is developed from people, and each one's particular themes that comes in over there, you try to draw a relationship between with each themes. That will help you to theorize gradually how the cause effective relationship are drawn in the particular diagrammatic way. Then we have the discourse analysis. Discourse analysis, this approach not only analyze the conversation but also takes into account of social context in which the conversation occurs. We try to explain, we try to analyze maybe a discourse or a content or reading, but at the same time we try to when we analyze these things, we try to also look for the background of it. What is the context that is happening? What is the power relationship? We try to relate with the history. We try to relate with the social context, or what is the that's including the previous conversation, the power relationship, the concept of individual identity. All this we have to look into it. Then, and if we are here, we are looking for the more on the secondary documents that we are trying to look into it. So discourse analysis, maybe it may be it includes analysis of written sources such as emails, letters, body language to give a rich source of data surrounding actual words used. So somebody said something, somebody has written about something. So when we are looking into somebody's writing, we have to not only look into this writing, okay, this is what the meaning, but we have to look into what is the background that is written and what is the implication of this background to this document. That has to be looked into it. Then we try to analyze it. The next one is narrative analysis. This looks at the way in which stories are told within the organization or a society to try to understand more about the way in which people think and are organized within groups. There are four types of narratives that we are looking into. Here we are trying to narrate the system, narrate what is happening over there. So analyze, we try to analyze. When we analyze, we look into the four ways. Like, is it a bureaucratic way, that is that in which highly structured, uh, logical, and often imposing control is there or not? We have to look into it. For main types of narrative, we are trying to look into it. And then next one is quest, where the ambition is to where the ambition is to have most compelling story and lead others to success. That means it inspires something. The next one is chaos, where the story is lived rather than told. That means people say, peoples are taken up, and at the same time, it gives a living experience to the people. And then the postmodern, here, which is rather than like a chaos narrative, in that it is lived, but where the narrator is aware of the story and what they are trying to achieve. Here the things, postmodern thing, we are not looking into, may not be able to, chaos are there, but at the same time we are not able to differentiate between what the narrator, whether the narrator is aware of certain things, at the same time trying to bring out something quality. Is it the what they are trying to achieve? So that means, rather than, this is what you have to postmodern perspective, that rather, which is rather the like chaos narrative, that in that it is lived, but where the narrator is aware of the story. This is what I am aware of the story, but at the same time trying to give the people a chaos experience. This is what, and thereby the people are taken up and something is achieved by the postmodern narratives. Then next one is conversion analysis. They largely looked into the ethnographic research. It assumes that conversations are all governed by rules and patterns in which remains the same whoever is talking. It also assumes that what is said can only be understood by looking at what went before and after. That means, when we analyze it, the conversation analysis, when we look at it, before, if you want to analyze it, what is said before and what is said after have to be looked into it. Conversation analysis requires a detailed examination of data, including exactly which words are used, in what order, whether speakers overlap their speech, and where the emphasis is placed. That's what you have to look at it. The here, that's what I said. Before and after has to be looked into it. We are trying to look into the conversation analysis, how the people are speaking about it, how the things are spoken about it, and it is more bit in depth. Have to be then. Therefore, detailed convention used in transcribing the conversation analysis. Here you have to go for detailed, minute details. Here, what is said, what is written has to be placed, has to be looked, analyzed before and after, and the word order, and the what kind of words that are used, and what whether it is repeated, whether some kind of what kind of emphasis is placed, that you have to look into it. These are the four things, six approach that we can use it. But some people use overlapping the usage, sometimes uses. That all depends upon the way that you look at your research. Basically, when we look at it, every research, especially the case study, we have to have generally follow these phases. As we said earlier, there are three types of case studies, and I'm trying to bring out these phases or steps in an integrated manner. First one, if the case study approach is appropriate, you have to think about it, whether the case study approach is right for the research question that I am addressing. And then you have to identify what are the cases that you are looking for. And then next one is possibilities of purposeful sampling. is available or not, whether samples are available for you or not. And that is why purposeful maximum sampling, whether maximum sample will be available if you are going for a multi cases. I may select ordinary, then you get maximum the cases that is giving us more data, but at the same time we should also look for certain cases which are very unusual cases. There are accessible cases, also ordinary cases also. So variety of cases also is good to when you go for multiple cases. Also look into it, and we for which we have to use observations, interview, we have to analyze the documents. We can go for audiovisual materials. Then you can go for types of holistic analysis that you have to entire case or embed. We had how we are going for analysis. Or are we looking for entire case to be analyzed, or a particular dimension we have to look for? Then aspects of the history. Then comes the next one is you have to describe history of the cases, like now aspects of as the history of the cases, chronology, if it is an event, chronology of events that has happened, or day-to-day rendering activities has to be written in the introduction that way. Then focus on key issues when we are looking for developing a theme, not for generalizing. We are developing a theme not for generalizing, rather to understand the complexity of cases. That means if we have the themes, we are trying to bring out the case more in depth and then bring the clarity to our research. Then analytical strategy would be to identify issue within each case and then look for common themes that transcend the cases and provide settings in which case present itself. That means when we are trying, and in this, when we this is along goes along with the analysis of themes. When we go for such kind of themes, we are trying to bring out some kind of transcending experience. Transcend. We are trying to overcome the subjectivity of the cases and then bring some kind of objectivity to the cases. Like we are trying to bring what exactly the case is experienced in its context, and thereby themes that are being developed. Then then that is when we have the case or unusual cases followed. And when if it is the multiple case, then we have to look in for it. In the multiple case chosen, first provide detailed description of each case or themes within the case. That means describe each case and then try to bring out the themes that is come up within the case itself, and then go for a cross section analysis or cross case analysis by thematic analysis. That means you bring out what are the common things comes in together, found out in each case, and then bring out a cross case analysis. Common things comes in it. Not only one case, one theme that is found in each case, but we try to transcend and come together in the cross case analysis. All the cases have got their own themes, and that themes merge together and bring out a common themes into that. Then assertion of interpretation. Then last ways that is common to both, all the three are assertion or interpretation or lessons learned. This is called interpretive cases. It reports the meaning of the cases, whether that meaning comes from learning about the issue of cases or learning about the unusual situations, whether it is within the case or intrinsic case or whatever, maybe whatever we have learned has to be bring out, for which I personally experience feel like we have to also look whether these experiences, these things, our interpretations are also in line with some of the previous literature that we have found, some of the ideas that we found. Then it will be substantiating our cases. The next, then this is an example. I just try to bring in. This is a uh, multi-case, you can say that cases I have put in multi-case cases I have studied. There was a study that I have looked into it, and then there was common themes that came in. In each case, we have found themes. I have found these themes. When people are displaced, we have found certain case in individual cases we have found it, these issues, and then I try to categorize into a common theme in individual cases, and then these individual case themes, and then transcended into the cross-section analysis or cross-theme analysis, then which is under specified under major themes. That is why if you find maybe in the economic, if you read from the left, economic cases, I have found certain themes on the right side, that reduced income, reduced unemployability, all this, and we have found marginalization, social marginalization. Then in the same way, the psychological marginalization, then political marginalization. All these themes comes in over there, and these themes, then sub themes common to the major theme, and these four major themes lead to the research theme, marginalization of the ousties. That is why it helps the common framework. So if we are able to bring out such kind of uh, visible diagrammatic presentation, our case study will have more clarity, at the same time more acceptability, at the same time we need not explain our much, it will not take much time for the reader to understand how this case study is being done, or the what are the themes emerge, instead of explaining 1 hour, or instead of explaining using 10 slides, if one slide if we can emerge like this, it will be much better. So here, as I said, this is what my experience. So major themes, the within economic marginalization, I have quoted like a Debate, Cernia, George, or all this. Some others name in which year. So these are themes also discussed by these people also. So I have comprehended and I brought it. So this is how it is easy for us to look into it. So finally, this is marginalization of the houses happens. So I was able to diagrammatically present. So whole research is being presented over here. So this is much will be helpful. So research, case study or qualitative research is depending upon our own capacity, our own skills. Basically, the research ability, preferences, and skills. At the same time, subjectivity can intrude into our case studies and qualitative research. So subjectivity can be overcome by bringing objectivity. This objectivity is possible when we go for multiple cases, or trying to be more scientific, more trying to be more systematic in our own research. This is what I would like to say. These are some of the resource, like to look, if you want to look into it. These are the things that is possible to have it. Thank you. Dr. Emmanuel?
Yes, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. It was not just about qualitative research, but then you also emphasized more on the case study method, and you had given us more clarity on the same. I'm sure that this would be more useful, not just for students, not just for teachers, but also for the working professionals who are trying to initiate research in their field. So I was just talking. We had a session last week with a person, and that person was also telling this research in modern days can also be used as a method for social action. So that gave a lot of clarity, and that's the reason why we had initiated this webinar as a department. So, dear participants, we have a lot of comments and a lot of questions. I'm sure that we'll be able to answer, but however, for time constraints, we are just going to have some questions. So I will be reading out the questions, and then maybe Sir can answer it. Yeah, so I can just start my this one. So some people had asked similar questions, so I have clubbed those questions. So kindly do not mistake that we if we wouldn't have answered or we wouldn't have told your name. So I'm just going up with the first question. The first question is by Miss Anjana Parmar. Please elaborate on case narratives.
Okay. Uh, okay, fine. That will be much. I don't. Uh, what case narratives? What she means? That's what another comes. How she goes on narratives? Is it narrative style or is it something? That's what I am not clear about it.
Okay, so then we move to the next question. Maybe they can, Miss Anjana can post it in the comment, so then we can take it up that question. So,
I no, before that, Emmanuel, I would like to ask Miss Anjana to look into like no, if she can look for Creswell book, she will get bit details. John Creswell.
okay, so
Yeah.
we move on to the next question. This is by Mr. Rajesh Kumar. How the
Mhm.
data collection differs from quantitative and qualitative research?
Mhm. Okay. Uh, in quantitative, mostly we use structured instruments. Like our questions are our instruments, like no standardized tools, like scales that we use. Okay. Whereas in the qualitative, we have in-depth interview, and we have observation. Observation can be participant or non-participant. So it makes the researcher unstructured things that are coming up. As it evolves, it comes out. That's what you have to look into it. Whereas in the quantitative, you have everything limited and you have pre-coded. In quantitative, everything is coded. If you ask this question, either the answer should be this or that. In quantitative, you bring certain numerics into it. Whereas we don't look into the numerics, but rather we are looking into the subjective elements. We are trying to look into the person's living situations. Whereas in the quantitative, we don't look into this person's living situations, rather, what is given that you analyze. Whereas in the qualitative, we look for value system, the living situation, the cultural, that is sort of it. Social, cultural, political perspective has to be looked into it. That makes a lot of difference. That itself makes the difference between qualitative and quantitative.
Okay, so many people had asked this question on what is the recent software or what software that you recommend for qualitative research. So Miss Anita Lobo has also asked this. What do you recommend personally?
Basically, one thing, let me say it. I am not uh, that much keen to ask you to use the software. People using the software is much tedious work. If you are a beginner, I will personally prefer to have your own manual way of looking at it. Your subjectivity has to come in. Then only the reading comes in. Your critical reflective thinking will come in your own manual thing. Whereas we have NVO, we have LACE, many research softwares are there. But I don't know how. If you are a beginner, I believe go for manual. As at the same time, you can use the quality NVO or at least.
Okay. So the next question is from Miss Saman. So she is asking, does grounded theory always lead to generalization of theory? Generation of theory, I'm sorry. Does grounded theory always lead to generation of theory?
Okay, in the grounded theory, in the grounded theory researcher, we are looking for when we don't have theories to explain the phenomena, then we are looking for theories. That is why the research itself is speaking about it. The generalization of the theory has to happen when you take up this research, what you have developed in your research, into much higher level, more research happens. So I need not have. That's what my perspective.
Miss
Am I
Abhi.
answering that question, Emmanuel?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we move on to the next question. So before we
Yeah.
move on to the next question, participants, we request the participants to fill out the feedback form, which is just shared in the comment section. So please do fill it. So we move on to the next question. So the next question is by Miss Abhi. She is asking, is qualitative research can be okay? So what are the types of analysis to be done in the qualitative research?
I have already explained in the six the analysis that we can look into content analysis, narrative analysis, all these things. I think Abhi has not looked into it. What I have shared to this, maybe these are the these are the analysis. I'll just Emmanuel,
Yes,
pardon me
yes,
to see, these are the analysis you can look for. Content analysis, grounded theory analysis, social network analysis, discourse analysis, narrative analysis, and conversation analysis. You can look into it.
yes, sir. So the next question is from Miss Dhanalakshmi. I would like to know about triangulation in research.
Hmm. Okay. Triangulation of the research that we have also, I think I have also discussed it, and this one. Triangulation is, what is triangulation? Triangulation is cross verifying what we have collected. Okay, that has to be looked into it. So where you have collected the data, when we have collected the data, we have to verify whether it fits in, whether we got enough data, whether we have not received it enough or not. That is the basic thing. And from there, you have to let me give the details of which I have given here. Then it will be easy for this to answer the questions. That's what I will. Okay. See, the data triangulation. Data. What is data triangulation? Means cross verification. If you are missing something, you go back to the field and get the details from the participant. Okay. Cross verification from this is just a simple strategy. In another way, this is what you get enough information from the uh, participant. Then you can go for investigator triangulation. That means using more if you are not only I make a research, there are ways that others also can have research. So I also can have another researcher with me to have more what I will say more data. It would save the time. So I can go. I and Daniel, if Emmanuel has gone for a data collection, and we went for same kind of case studies in different participants. In the case of multiple case studies that we are using, so we cross verify whether you got the data, and that matches with our basic requirement of data. Triangulation happens. Another thing, the method that we use, the what kind of method you using the participant observation, and am I using also non-participant observation? That can be used it. I can cross verify it. So if I am using in-depth interview, that is fine. But at the same time, if I have also structured interview, that is which is very structured. As I go for the structured interview, I also can go for in-depth interview. I will ask the participant, can you fill this one? Yes, he or she will fill it. After that, what the data I receive from the structure, I will cross verify also when what I got from the in-depth interview. So that is a verification that happens.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So the next question is by Ms. Bhumika. So how
Yeah,
can we generate theories using case studies?
best way is to go for the grounded theory. Okay, I think we need to more speak about the grounded theory. It is not that easy to grounded theory, develop a grounded theory. We go for the grounded theory unless if there is no such theories exist to explain such of event or phenomena or the cases existing.
Okay. So we move on to the next one. So here, this is by Dr. S. Praveen. In the field of special education or disability management, it is difficult to increase the number of cases. Then how the generalization is possible?
It's all depending upon the the living situation of the people. Okay, that's what the research background has to be looked into it. Disability, of course. What is the nature of the research? What is the type of cases that we are looking to? That is what most important. I think, if I am not wrong, the perspective that we are looking for the cases are more important. And why do you want to have a generalization? Why do you want to have a ground theory development for the this one? Because especially with regard to the disability or differently abled section, that is itself is a unique thing. It's better to give the uh, case as it, and if people possible to go for thematic analysis and cross section analysis, which will help you to grow out some kind of models, then you can go for the grounded theory development.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir. The next question is by Ms. Kirti. Could you please explain about time series? So this person is asking about time series.
Okay. Time series is no time series. Today I take research today, and if I am studying about what I say, COVID-19, if I take the COVID-19, when time series studies happen, March 24th, India has, if it is India, they have lockdown, and then for it was 3 week. So what is happened that way? And then next is phase happens. Then the next phase you explain each series. Then you have the second phase. Then you have third phase. So each phase, what is happening? You try to explain it and try to interpret it and try to develop certain things, common elements that is happen over here, and try to bring out the second phase and what is happen on that phase, and then the third phase, and then trying to bring out uh, a common pattern to that. So whether there is a common difference of that is it a progressive pattern happens? Is there is any difficult differences happens? So series happens on time. You take research on a time span of time duration. That's what time series. I think I will prefer again to read Ying and the research and Alan Bryan in that, and Creswell also.
Okay. So the next question is from Umesh Kumar, Bangalore. Can you please speak about the validity of manual coding in qualitative research in today's world and its relevance? How do you validate?
Uh, Validity and see, manual coding is that what we follow, this one, and validity, it brings about how objective you are in your research, and also speaks about your the common things that themes that generate, and it's all depending upon the case study that you follow, and at the same time the analysis the type of analysis we follow. So I think don't go for generalization of the validity. Rather, you look for the reliability, which is possible through the uh, triangulations. This is what I will be able to say that. Otherwise, I don't know whether much more on that, because in qualitative research we don't go for the validation. Rather, we go for reliability and then bring out something. We try to generalize it. This is what exactly happened.
Okay.
If I am not wrong.
So
Yeah,
we'll take last two questions.
they can also give me insights into that. I'm not
Sure.
that full, the junk of all trades, so therefore it's very difficult. Yeah,
Okay, so we'll take up the last two questions.
yeah.
So the last question, the last before question is it possible to calculate qualitative research in SPSS software?
No, sorry.
Okay, so the next one is,
But there is one thing I will say. There is apparent answer is no, sorry. But at the same time, when we develop themes, then if you want to code it after coding it, and then you go for the theme, then subject this one, then you can go for it. But it is almost doing like a two research.
so the last question for today's
Yeah.
session. Can I use different techniques in case study for a particular community?
Here techniques here means what does it mean? Is a techniques of data collection.
Yes, yes,
Surely, that's why you have to look into it. That is why we said no. You can use within the case study. You should use the observation. You should
okay.
go for a transit work. You should also look for the secondary literature. Then only the verification happens. Otherwise, it will be a very subject one way of looking at the things. Am I right?
Okay, so I have a question, Doctor.
Uh,
If we use different questions, then aren't we, no, sorry, if we use different techniques, I know that we will be able to authenticate our data, but aren't we not wasting more of our time?
that is why case study is. This is one of the criticism against the case study that it take time consuming. So
Yes.
it is not wasting of the time. Rather, it bring more objectivity and bring more clarity into the research. That means we overcome the subjectivity in the research by bringing about objectivity in the research.
Okay. Okay, so thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. And also, I'm
Yeah.
sure that we had a lot of Q&As, but then as per time constraints, we have to, just finish this program. But however, I thought I'll just give few instructions for the participants, and then I will follow it by the vote of thanks. So, dear participants, thank you once again for having, actively participating in this webinar. So I'm sure that you would have seen the feedback form in the comment section. So please, fill your feedback form so that will be useful for us to conduct such quality webinars. So that's number one. Number two is uh, we would have given some more questions in the feedback form, which means that please mention it correctly so that it will be easy for us to generate the e-certificate. E-certificate. Thirdly, that we will be sending the e-certificates to all the participants who fill the feedback form, so you can get it in another 3 days time in your mail. Fourthly, we will also be sending you the PPTs, and if there are any materials to be sent along, so you'll be getting it in 3 days time. So thank you so much for your active participation. So
Uh,
I will, yes, Father, would you like to say something?
yeah. Yeah. Maybe if the participants want to have my email ID and WhatsApp number, okay, no problem. I can share it. But yeah. But
Yeah.
can I
So I
share
can,
this?
yeah, I can share it. I can share it in their mail ID, so not a problem.
Now
So I will,
this is what I shared. Can you see it? Can you see this, Emmanuel?
no,
Okay, no
no,
problem.
sir, I'm not able to see it. I will anyway send it to them.
Okay, you send it. You can send it. No issues.
Okay. So hereby, I would like to propose the vote of thanks. So, Honorable Dr. Norby Paul, respected Dr. Vijala Kennedy, Dr. Kalpana, and most valued guests. So, good afternoon. It's my privilege to be asked to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion. So, I, on behalf of the Department of Social Work, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, extend a hearty vote of thanks from the bottom of my heart. So first of all, a big thank you to Dr. Norby Paul for his efforts in the presentation on qualitative research focusing on the case study method. I'm sure that this would have enlightened all the participants and the topic was simply amazing. We're all inspired by your thoughts. Thank you, Doctor. So next, I would like to thank Dr. Vijala Kennedy, Principal, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science. She's been the fulcrum of our teaching fraternity, encouraging us to take up quality programs. So thank you so much for your guidance, ma'am. Further, I would like to thank Dr. Kalpana Prakash, HOD, Department of Social Work, Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science, for her constant support and guidance, without which we wouldn't have organized such a webinar. Subsequently, I would like to thank our mentors, Dr. Lavlina from Bharatiyar University, Dr. Jonas Richard from Krishna Jayanti College, Dr. Victor from Christ University, Dr. Belinda from MCC, Dr. Rajeshwari from PSG, and thank you so much for your ideas and inspiration. It means a lot to us. Thank you, teachers. Most importantly, I would like to thank all the participants around the globe. So we had a lot of participants from Australia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and also some people from US. So thank you for taking your time to attend this webinar. I'm sure that this would have given you a lot of new ideas in the area of your research. Moreover, I would like to thank our faculty members, especially our Professor Leo David, for the technical support, and the student coordinator, Mr. Kamalesh, and all the other students of Kumaraguru College of Liberal Arts and Science for their encouragement, coordination, and participation. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, that we are more grateful to the resource person on the stage.
Okay, before you wind up, thank you, Dr. HOD Kamala and Dr. Emmanuel for being inviting me to be, such a risky thing. That's what I will say. You have taken a big risk. I'm so happy to be associated with you. Thank you for all the participants for the patient listening. You can reach to me. You can reach to me in research area expertise and other things. At the same time, if you want to have any kind of clarification or even for a consultation, I can provide it. My email ID and WhatsApp will be no will be circulated by Dr. Emmanuel. Thank you once
Yes.
again for all.
Yeah.
Dr.
Thank you
Paul,
so
it is
much.
not at all risky. Actually, you did a wonderful job. I should mention it. And this is the first time that we are also on a live platform. And thank you. Thank you for such a great session, Dr. Paul. Looking forward to
Thank,
associate with you in future
yeah,
also.
thank you, thank you. We'll see what is
Thank you,
possible.
Paul. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
teachers.
thank you.